Tell you what, I tell you what, sometimes you're only as good as your last call. And here we go. Bitcoin crossing 100,000. What did we need to get to 150? We needed 100. There we are. We have gone from a low of $15,000 back in November of 22. If you've been with me, you've been following me, you know I've been looking for that 10x growth from that time up to about 150, possibly even higher. 170 would be a kind of an ideal I've talked about lately. And here we go. Lucky again. Lucky again. And you know, I guess, y'all wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my epic calls, I guess, but some of you might. Some of you might think I'm an awesome enough dude to come hang out, but tell you what, some of you say it's not luck. I know. But here we are. Here we are. The situation at hand. Let's flip it over. Right there. We're into our resistance points. So, unfortunately. And where to next? So, this is just looking at the moves here. Just looking at these moves. Right here. This is just Bitstamp. We can go to any other Bitcoin index you want to. Potentially sitting at a resistance point. Potentially. We got the high over here, the low over here. Potentially. Now, this is potentially a resistance point. Right there at the 1272. What am I looking for? Really looking for? I'm looking for that extension to the 1618. We've hit the 1618 every time in the past. I'm not getting that perfectly on there. But somewhere in this neighborhood would be the ideal target. So we are up into this resistance right there. Be careful. We could retrace it before we pop it. It's entirely possible. If you're not ready for that kind of move, well, maybe you should reevaluate your life choices. Now, we don't have to. We don't have to do a deep retrace. We can just grind it a little bit, keep going. Is it likely to be there by January 1st? Probably not. Probably not. And the thing to think about, though, is if we go up really fast, we're coming back down really fast. And crypto winter starts early. I don't really want crypto winter to start, so I'll take another little consolidation here. Slow, easy ramp up. I'd be game for that right there. Just a nice ascent. So that's the ideal. We are at a point where we could top out right in here. Like this right here, we could top out. All right. I just warning, like, we don't have to get to this number. Now, this number seems very likely to me. 150 was my official number right there. This number seems very, very likely based on the history of Bitcoin. Doesn't have to happen, but it seems very likely. And this number would be really nice to see. Except for the last halving, we've hit that kind of number, that 272 extension every time. Now, law of big numbers makes that somewhat less likely. All right. Just cold dose of reality here. Bring this up. 8 market cap, infinity market cap, infinite market cap, however you want to say it. Look at Bitcoin's $2 trillion right here while we sit at 100,000. Think about it. To go to $4 trillion, that would mean, to go to 4, we got to have $2 more trillion. That would be a $200,000 Bitcoin. All right. Just simple math. To get to a $400,000 price right here, this has to go up 4x. That's $8 trillion. Drawing with a mouse is goofy. Anyway, $8 trillion. Can it do it? I don't know. Let's liquidate these two and dump it all into Bitcoin, right? liquidate that $6 trillion and dump it all into Bitcoin. That'd be interesting. Definitely interesting. So, anyway, I'm not trying to be a. Let's just keep our, tame the expectation. All right, it's kind of, I guess, the bottom line. We got to set realistic expectations. Is it likely to become the most valuable thing in the world right now? I just don't see it. All right. Now, gold up here has nearly $18 trillion, but this has also had like, what, 10,000 years of humans mining and chasing gold to get to this kind of valuation right there. And this has only been around for 16 years. Right here. Since the white paper came out. 16 years. So, thousands of years, 16 years. I'm not saying it's not, like, we're not going to eclipse gold. It just, gold's hard to transport. This, technically, somebody was asking me, I guess my son was asking me about how do you hold your Bitcoins? And I was like, technically, the Bitcoins themselves never move. They all just stay in the ledger. Who owns the Bitcoins is the only thing that really moves. It's a difficult concept, but all the Bitcoins that ever are always stay on the ledger. They never move. It's just an accounting, like who owns those Bitcoins? Which wallet do they belong in? So the Bitcoins never move. That's kind of interesting, I feel like. It's just a finer point. Nobody ever actually has the Bitcoin. They're all just numbers in the ledger. It's kind of not all that different from US dollars, really. I mean, you can say that piece of paper is your dollar, but you read it, it's just a note for the value of a dollar, or the note for a value of $100 or whatever. And just like stock too. There's a company that owns all the stock, and we just own digital certificates for the stock. So it's kind of the world we live in. It's all part of the matrix, right? All right. So anyway, where to next? Where to next? Cool. Disconnected. And I was on this screen right here. Yeah. Next targets, but time. Time is always the hardest part of this whole thing. For anybody that's new here, this was the time frame of the breakout that I was looking for. Right, we're right there in it, and I expected the heart of the run to occur essentially now. And right there's the line. Like I said, we're likely to start really ramping up right there. Put that line on there quite a long time ago. It's about 220 days post halving. We're actually almost right on the money for that. Almost to the day. Anybody remember me saying that like 100 bajillion times? Look at this. Right there was 220 days, right? 225, 220, right? Oh, 19, 24. Come on. Right there. Right there's 219. Look at that. Beautiful. And there's no, like, you never run your fingers through the Bitcoin because there's, technically I guess, if you wanted your Bitcoin in your machine, you just run the ledger on your own machine, and then your copy of the ledger has the Bitcoins in it. Like, so it's a distributed ledger. It's a finer point. Like everybody that runs the Bitcoin ledger software, you just go to Bitcoin whatever it is and download the ledger software. You become one of the authenticator, you are one of the nodes on the network at that point. When you run it, it takes, several days to catch up to the current ledger, but because you have to process every transaction that's ever been, and it takes a few days to do that for normal computers. And once you do that, though, you're one of the nodes on the network. You can participate in the Bitcoin network. So anyway, all right. Right now, I expect us to top out. And I've talked about this somewhere in this neighborhood between here and October. Pull this over, and we actually have somewhere, well, apparently not on this chart. Let's see if it's on the all-time history. Yeah, I guess I deleted it somewhere along the way. Somewhere right over here in October, one of these charts has it. I have a line, kind of expecting us to hit that target in that zone. So my target's firmly hitting between 150 and 300,000. It's kind of what I just kind of what I expect. So I've got all these different Bitcoin charts that I've got different stuff drawn on too. Coinbase, Binance, both crossed $100,000 Bitcoin last night. Beautiful. Almost simultaneous. It was like I got the alerts like back to back. So it was very almost coordinated across the different exchanges. Very nice. Very nice indeed. So in case you've never seen this before, CoinMarketCap, there are 2.4 million cryptos, 764 exchanges, celebrating 100,000 right there. And Bitcoin dominance, 55% of the market. Why do I pay attention to Bitcoin? What does it take to unseat 55% dominance? It takes a lot. Next closest one is 12%. That's Ethereum. So, and Tether comes in a distant third. Tether's just a stable coin. You know, XRP, everybody's like, XRP is going to the moon. What's the use case? How does XRP solve any problems that these two don't? I mean, you could say this, that, and the other, transaction speed, blah, 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 blah. Sure, but why would you use it? And so Bitcoin, I've seen Bitcoin taken at vendors. I've seen Ethereum taken at vendors. I've even seen Dogecoin accepted at vendors. I've never seen anybody accept XRP payments. So anyway, if you can't afford $100,000 of Bitcoin, what can you buy to own a chunk? So that's a good question, right? There's other ways to play. And we'll talk about some of those here in a minute. Let's refresh this screen because this is not the right thing. Click this and refresh. There we go. This guy is acting like leveraged Bitcoin. We're about to see some crazy stuff happen here in a minute. This one is leveraged. Leverage on the leveraged Bitcoin. And another way to play. You want to feel like you're late to the party? BitX here. Opportunity. Still have 100 target on BitX. This is 2x leveraged Bitcoin. Might it perform? Yeah, might. Might it underperform? Might. ETHU. Another one that might perform. Target's up here around 24, 25. Still a double. But that leverage cuts both ways, all right? So if you don't understand leverage instruments and what these guys are doing to get their leverage, be careful. These are not, I'm not saying for anybody to go buy these at all. Just, if you don't understand Bitcoin, you don't want to, like if you're feeling FOMO, right? This is a big thing. If you're feeling fear of missing out, FOMO, as they call it right now, you missed out. You didn't get in when I said, hey, Bitcoin's going to 150,000 all the way over here. I mean, I've been talking about this for, gosh, darn near, it feels like forever. Almost the entire time I've been a guru. Right there, I've been doing this thing. Right there. And BITO, I don't like BITO. I mean, yeah, you've got to own the shares. You can't play options on BITO. And most of those leverage instruments you shouldn't play options on anyway. So, yeah, probably a good time to read my disclosure statement, as you said. Good All trading involves a substantial risk of loss, right? Past performance not necessarily indicative of future results. Just because I say it doesn't mean it's ever going to come true. This presentation intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining. Hopefully you're entertained. I find it entertaining to watch the market. And it's not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial instruments. Don't trade them. Don't buy stocks, options, bonds, forex, futures, cryptos, treasuries. Don't long them. Don't short them. Don't trade them. You can lose money. I mean, what part of this first line? All trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Don't be the sucker. All right. If you're feeling FOMO, you should probably just put $1 in and stay, just watch it. We'll go through crypto winter again. It's coming. Probably late next year, maybe into 26. Crypto's going to pull back 80% again, 70, 80%. You'll have an opportunity to buy. It'll be sucky for a long time. And then somewhere in 2028, we'll do this all over again. If you desire somebody just to tell you what buttons to push, that would be financial advice. You need to hire and consult a financial advisor, which is not what I do. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not trying to be one. I'm not playing one on YouTube. Not even pretending that you should do anything I do. Be careful out there. All right? Be careful out there. This is when I bought a big chunk. And then I bought more chunk up here. And when we did this right over here, right in here, I said, that's probably the last time we're going to see 25,000. Well, actually, I guess it was that dip right there. When we started breaking higher, I was like, that's probably the last time we're going to see 25,000. Maybe ever. Right there. For those of you that were with me, maybe you remember that. It was right on the cusp of the spot ETFs. All the hype on that. That hyped up culminated right here. We went through the halving event in April. Went through the pullback. I kind of said we'd probably see a big pullback after halving. It just ground and ground and ground and ground forever, it seemed like. And now we're finally into that breakout period. Things are going to get spicy. But that's only like 50% left on the upside here. That's only like 50% left. Kind of late to the party. Now, could it go up here? Sure, it could. Could. There's that October target right there. Could. Keep it in perspective, though. Like, it may not. It may stop right here, 50, 60% higher. And then we do an 80% correction, right back down in the zone. This is the next. AI was the last bubble. Bitcoin, crypto, probably going to be the next bubble again. We kind of get this every 4 years. And then we'll move on to something else. What's the next thing? I don't know. Stay tuned. We'll figure it out. All right. Everybody sufficient on Bitcoin? Sufficiently entertained here. Moving over. Look at the calendar. We have the jobs report coming up. We had a jobs report this morning. Yes, we have the monthly unemployment rate coming up tomorrow morning. Likely to be some fireworks here. That'll ramp up the leverage on futures for this report right here. It's usually, more often than not, it's a market mover. If it's just a dud, we come at 4.1. It may not move very much. It's an excuse to move the market. Not really a reason, just an excuse. That comes in tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning before the market opens. So by the time I'm doing the show, we'll have these numbers. We can talk about them tomorrow. Tomorrow. All right. Moving on. Look, what's important here? Markets open. S&P. Hitting targets. Where to next? We've got Bitcoin hitting the first target at 1272. I do expect much more out of Bitcoin. I'm going to be sorely disappointed if we don't get it. As far as S&P, I kind of expect us to rally up into this area right around 62.60, 62.50, 62.70. Maybe get a retrace. And we're going a little slower. Time is the hardest part of this whole thing. Going a little slower than I projected. Maybe pop up in here mid-December, possibly into January. Probably get a retrace, and then maybe do the final move up to this 6,600 area. That may be the end of this whole thing. Maybe the end of this whole big move up. And if we just go, we just go like this, we're doing that very, very severely down. I expect below 4 before above 7. So 7 there, 4 off the screen. I expect to break below 4 before we go above 7. That's what I expect. I could be wrong. Been wrong before. We'll see. S5TW down to the 50s. Look at that. Kind of said we probably see participation drop back down. Back in the 50s. We're at a point where we could find a reversal and we could see participation go back up again on the stocks above their 20-day. It's just S&P 500 stocks above their 20-day. You don't trade this. It's just an index, just a market barometer. It's an oscillator, as I call it, because we tend to oscillate between the top and the bottom. This one just kind of hang in the middle. We didn't really, even though we're grinding all-time highs, we got the 56th all-time high close this year, yesterday, but everything's just kind of flat. And this just kind of hanging right in the middle. It's kind of interesting. Was this really the participation top right here? Now we're going to grind it and head back lower. It's all ties together with something I found. I didn't actually plan on talking about this today, but let me pull this up really quickly. Check this out right here. Look at this right here. This is volume on the Magnificent Seven. The 7 biggest, most volumetric stocks out there. Look what we're doing. Participation in these things, the excitement around these is dropping off. And you can say, well, it's rotation in this other things. And that's exactly my point, is that there's a lot of room left to correct. Like the buyers are getting exhausted. Like we're going straight the frick up. All right. If the buyers are running out, that's opportunity for another one of these. Possibly another one of the, one of these type things. Big flush. So time to be cautious right there. When the volume starts drying up, when the buyers are exhausted, what happens? When no more buyers show up to the table, who are the big ones likely to fall? Right there. Magnificent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are them. This one's not far behind. Neither is this one. I think it's also interesting to me that the Vanguard VTI right here shows up here. But you don't see SPY showing up in here. The Spider ETF. The Vanguard ETF shows up, but not the Spider ETF. VOO shows up there too. It's two different ETFs showing up in here. You don't see SPY in here. IVV. There's SPY right there. How much smaller SPY is. Everybody talks about how SPY is super liquid, blah, blah, blah. It's all the way down at 23 compared to these up here. VTI and VOO. I find that kind of interesting too. Interesting stuff. So, warning about the sector rotation. S5TH, stocks above their 200-day. This plummeted right down. Look, as we were making all-time highs, the participation rate dropping yesterday. Dropping a lot, too. Seeing a lot of concentration into the few names performing. So this is a warning. The market's warning. There's warning lights flashing. Something's not right. Something's not right. When we're hitting all-time highs, getting to targets, we're not supposed to be dropping in these three things right here. Stocks above their 20-day, stocks above their 50-day, stocks above their 200-day. And this one topped out way before we rolled over. Last time, you're like, how does this relate to 2021? We topped out back here, like in April. The market topped out here right after the new year in 22. And then it was a flush out all year long, at least till October when we finally hit the lows. Are we already doing this part? And we're hunting that top? Quite possibly. Quite possibly we topped out back here right now. That was April again. Could we be looking at deja vu where we top that first week of, make an all-time high that first week of January and then nothing but down? Deja vu. Yes, looking at the overnight action. This is S&P 500 futures. Let's kind of dive in, look at what we got here. We kind of popped that high right there yesterday afternoon into the close and then spent all night churning sideways. So we closed at all-time high and then just churned it off, hitting the 5-minute retrace there. And can we go again? We'll talk about that at the end. My daily expectation. Stick around. I'll give you a bonus trade setup and kind of what I expect. NQ, same kind of price action. Lined up. Both those lined up. And we are finally above the freaking target. Look at that. Time to check out TQQQ. Got lucky on Bitcoin. Got lucky on NQ. TQQQ still has a little bit left to go. Maybe about $4 more. Let's see what we can get to. I'd really love to see that just pound up there and hit it. Just blast it up there. Now, is it log mode or not log mode? That's the big question. I'd love to see 92, but 90 may be all we get right here. 95 would be the ideal point to get up to, but sitting here at 86, $4 shy. The entry was all the way back here in August. We've been waiting for this for a long freaking time. I'd love to see it just hit. SVXY just cannot break above the 618. We did this large correction back in August. From here down to here. Has not been able to get above here. This could be another warning that we might see another big flush. Right, this is a derivative and it's a derivative of derivative of derivative. But sometimes these things provide clarity that you can't see on the regular charts. This right now is a 3-wave up into a reversal type zone. We very well could see this drop on down here. Be careful out there on SVXY. Russell not doing the same bullish thing that all the other indexes are doing. All the others being ES and NQ. This one, more of a downtrend, not making all-time highs. Warning, something's up with the small caps. Russell 2000, more like Russell 1800. Something's up. Something's up. So. Yeah. Maybe, Kevin, maybe not. Maybe, traders are traders, all right? You can say, oh, fundamentally, everything's clear for Bitcoin to go higher, but it doesn't. Traders are traders, all right? For everybody that thinks Bitcoin's going higher, there has to be somebody selling that doesn't think it's going higher in order for somebody to buy. If everybody's just buying, it's going there's no sellers coming on the market. It's a difficult concept, but for every transaction, somebody is liquidating their Bitcoin. Somebody out there. Somebody doesn't think it's going higher. So anyway, we talked about Bitcoin ad nauseum here. Ethereum, Ether has a lot of catching up to do, is what I would say. Bitcoin's already up here at the 1272. This one's just hanging out down here with the lower high still. A lot of potential for this to catch up just to get to the 1272. Now, it's on a different path because this bottomed in June. When Bitcoin bottomed out, this made a higher low. This thing already did potentially the first move up and a correction to 618. This one could outperform, but I'm not to the point of declaring that right now. I'm not convinced because we're not making higher highs yet. What would the outperformance look like? Possibly 7,000 up here. It's funny enough that this move up and this retrace with a measured bounce lines up with this roadmap line correction to basically put the fib lines in the same two spots. That's curious to me. That's why I bought a nice chunk of ETHU. That's why I have a nice chunk of this. We may actually outperform it. Bought a lot of it down here at these numbers. So I'm already sitting on basically a double on those shares. Could be like a 5x right there. Nice. Everybody says you can't make money on shares. I don't know why. You can make plenty of money on shares. You just got to be on the right shares. If that scares you, too bad. I mean, that's the way I play. So don't run out of time when you play leveraged shares. DXY, dollar. As I've said, we're coming back to test the roadmap line, whether it's today or tomorrow. That's setting up to be a 1-2. Potentially could get a 3-4-5 and go down much quicker. Then we'll get another correction and then a bigger correction. And we'll see. I've had these long-term downside targets for a long time. We could go higher still, but right now it's still indicating down is probably the direction. This was just a big 1, 2, 3. Correcting that, and that is still to come. NKD, just chopping a little bit. I use this as a global liquidity indicator, and we're not breaking higher highs. In fact, we're maintaining a downtrend of lower highs. If we can break out, positive for global liquidity and taking everything higher. If we break down below this level down here, probably going to get a big flush in the market, in the U.S. market. It's probably going to spill over. That's what happened over here. Saw a big 3-day liquidation, and that spilled over in the U.S. markets. We may see it happen over here if we do it again. All right, I go to the pre-market, pull everything moving $2 or more up, put it on the gainers list, $2 or more down, put it on the decliners list, and we kind of look for opportunities. What's getting spicy? MSTR. Here's a warning sign. If whatever high we make right here is still a lower high, and then we start chopping in here, it's time to get out. Time to get out of MSTR. Why? It's a very clear pattern. Very clear pattern. If you're new here, welcome to this pattern. We ramp up. A lot of euphoria. We're all going to be rich. We get this initial like chaos. Everybody says we just need to cool off. I hear that a lot on MSTR. It just needs to digest everybody, and then we can go higher again. Especially hot in Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I've started keeping a kind of a pulse on some of these things. People talking about just needs to cool off. We consolidate in something like this, and then it breaks down. So if MSTR doesn't get continuation, think about it. We're higher on Bitcoin now than we were over here. This is backwards. If this starts just chopping, not performing, it's time to get out. Likely we're going on a bigger correction. MSTU, same pattern, same pattern. Now, can we take it higher? Make that high even higher? Absolutely. Absolutely. Could be that we're just over here and we're just doing one of these little iterations over here before we pop the absolute top. How do you know? You don't. That's why you got to be very vigilant and keep an eye on it. You know, we could be doing this over here and we still have this to go. But it could be this part over here. Are we on this part? Are we on this part? It's the hard part of this, all right? We already hit some ideal targets on MSTR. Hey, Charlie, good to see you. Good to see all the channel members. And K Rebstock, thanks for being a channel member today. Thanks for joining. So MSTX, my preferred way to play. Why? It's a little bit cheaper. And for those of you that were smart and got in down here, good on you. I waited till I was up in the 90s for my big position. I have a $300 sell order. Ambitious? You betcha. I've got an active sell order for all my MSTX shares at 300. If we get that, I'm out. Coin, rock and roll, baby. Next target, 369, possibly 427. I think it looks better on log mode, but there's some things that look better on not log mode. So that's the two levels, 369 right there. May find resistance there. And if we get on through it, 427. Be the next place I expect to find some resistance. And ultimately, I want to see a pop up into this zone around this 500 area, up possibly to 600. Where I think we could possibly go, but we got to get there first. All right, other stuff. 5 below. This is a cautionary 3-wave correction here. 1, 2, 3. The trend has been down very clearly. 3 waves makes a correction. We're right into the gap, and it could possibly go lower. Caution, caution, caution. The warning here, that high, that low, we're right at parity. This move up is almost exactly the same size as that move up. That is very classic corrective nature and can lead to a lower low right like that. ASML, still believe we may go up and test the roadmap line here, but we're still probably going to head down to 600-ish area. SAIC. Funny enough, my family engineering company, my dad used to work for SAIC, and my family engineering company is a spinoff of SAIC from years and years and years ago. Be like chart. Yeah, the chart doesn't even go back that far. It was back here. That potentially a roadmap bounce. Potentially. This high, this low. Gonna have to break back above the 618 level right in here to set up the targets at 162, 168. Connell, I am gunning for a $100 target on that one. Being a little conservative, 109, 110, really, but trying to be a little conservative. I own shares of this one also. SMLR. This one's doing the MSTR thing along with Mara. So Bitcoin pops. This one could pop also. BitX. If you want a piece of leveraged Bitcoin, don't want to buy $10,000 worth of, you can. The funny thing is, you can buy 1/1,000,000th of a Bitcoin. So you can go buy Bitcoin in the market, and you don't have to buy a whole coin. You can buy, they actually, the decimals go out to 1/1,000,000th, so you can buy as much or as little as you want. And this offers a leveraged way to play. I still expect 100 on this one, 120, 110, 120, right in there. Just what I expect. I have shares on this one also. VRNT. Let's see what we got. I wouldn't trade it first off because, well, it's essentially gone nowhere for that long, like for at least 6 years. Just nowhere. And that's a giant resistance zone right there. There's just, and that's the lowest low. That's a higher low. Could it be getting out of here? Possibly. It's going to have to take a break above this $40 area and continuation and a retrace. And it's got a lot of work to do and a lot of baggage too. BTCL, here's you another way to play. 2x leverage Bitcoin. This one's not got the history. This is T-Rex. If you like T-Rex, if you have no idea, you should go read the prospectuses on some of these. BitX is mine. This is just my way to play. You can, there's lots of ways to play. I don't particularly care for BITO right now. You're gonna have to hold the shares for sure. They pay out a lot of their NAV, the net asset value. They're trying to wind this fund down for some reason. It has $2.7 billion under management, and they keep, for whatever reason, they keep paying out that value in dividends. Trying to bleed it off. Why? You'd have to go read the prospectus and try to figure it out. And we can dive in down here and see what they're holding. See more about the fund. You click these buttons, you can go down here, read about what their top 10 holdings are. They're not even showing. Oh, there it is right there. They've got treasury bills and US dollars. Where's the Bitcoin? That doesn't make any sense. This is a Bitcoin ETF, and they're holding treasuries and dollars. There's no Bitcoin. There's no Bitcoin futures. Well, that's weird. So, not keen on that one. BITO. Look at this. Also weird. Holding mutual funds. That's interesting. What mutual fund? You have to go dig into that. Government obligations and US dollars. I do recommend you go dive into what these are doing. At least this one has options. Probably on MSTR. US dollars. Shares. And some government obligation funds. That one at least makes a little sense. That one right there, options. Hold a bunch. That one holds a chunk of shares and a bunch of options and some dollars. Different ways. You know, they don't all do the same thing. BTCL, T-Rexes, US dollars, and treasuries. Where's the Bitcoin? Where's the, how are we taking advantage of the 2X here? Where's the Bitcoin exposure? And be careful. Be careful on these. Look at that one. I mean, again, ETHU, 2X Ether. Where's the Ethereum? How are they getting exposure? Now this X government obligation thing may get it, but yeah, gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. All right. GEV, GE Veranova, grinding up here. We're pausing. We've gotten to an extension point. This one doesn't have enough chart to really do anything, so yeah, be careful there. BITU, there's another Ultra Bitcoin. Just going up. Hopefully that one's leveraged and can maintain their Ultra leverage. That's Ultra means leverage. Be careful on leverage. Once again, I think it's to me, bang for the buck, right? You can go buy Bitcoin. Most sure way but you're only going to perform like Bitcoin. Plus you got the costs of whatever exchange fee. I like to go buy these, a little bit lower fees, and maybe you don't get the 2X performance, but possibly you outperform the actual Bitcoin. Now it can always, there's risk involved in all trading, and it can go to zero, and this could liquidate tomorrow. They have that option in the prospectus to just liquidate everybody tomorrow and give your money back or whatever money's left. So always read the prospectus. There are liquidation criteria, and if they decide to do it, they just wind it up and it's done. Reverse split, dumpster fire, absolute dumpster fire. BTCO, another Bitcoin ETF. That's actual spot ETF right there. These guys better dang hold Bitcoin because they're a spot ETF. And oops, that wasn't the right thing to click on. More about the fund. And they actually hold Bitcoins. So this has got to be some kind of fluke with the Bitcoin thing. Maybe after the first of the year when they change the accounting rules, they can report holding Bitcoins. EAT, Brinker International. I've worked... Brinker's been a client of mine before, and upside target potentially appear in the 300 area. It's 200 to 300 area, right up in there. ARKB is Bitcoin ETF. XCure. Reverse split right there. Biotech, be careful. Not my thing. Not my bag of chips. Goldbex blockchain. Another one of these crazy trying to make money out of Bitcoin and crypto that had a reverse split. Be careful. Wrecked is getting wrecked. Lambo is going to the moon, although we're lower high. Interesting. SMCX. So this is 2X leverage on SMCI. Has a reverse split. Be careful. SMCI could get delisted. Maybe not. Maybe. Be careful. Resistance right there, and we may go lower after hitting it. GBTC, another Bitcoin trust, or this is a Bitcoin spot now. They still call it trust, but it's Bitcoin spot. DEO, and we're just shy of that target. I still expect another low. Still expect another low. TARA. Nice pop. That's biotech stuff. Pharmaceuticals. Hood. Oh, man. We're back in the 40s. Holy moly. possibly could go to new highs. There's not much to work with off of these lows. Last pullback was over here. We could get an extension if we get up to this 120, 113, 114 area right there. If we can get up to that zone right around 120, experience a pullback, it can go up even higher. That's a lot of work to go from. That's $80 more. I mean, it's like the triple from here to get to here. But if we do that and pull back, that indicates we're bullish and we're going to get continuation higher. Uncertain right now. This price action is not the most reliable off the lows, but it's hard to extrapolate here. I do hold shares, and that's why I'm interested in it, but I'm considering getting the heck out of Dodge here at 45. I have stayed in this for a long time. I sat through all of that with my shares, trying to sell upside calls, and back to the gap down theory. I'm kind of ready just to get the fudge out. So BJDX. Played there long enough. You know, people say the wheel strategy, but sometimes you had enough wheel and you just wanted GTFO. Blue Jay Diagnostics, that's another medical specialty. Reverse splits galore. Poorly managed biotech. EZBC. I have no idea what this is. I'm guessing that's another Bitcoin thing. No idea what that one is. I'd have to go read that one. PRFX. Pain reform. That's going to be some sort of pain management. Biotech. Pharmaceutical thing. Reverse splits galore. Dumpster fire. BTCT. BTCT. Bitcoin Bit Digital. Another reverse split. Another reverse split. I'd be careful. Ride the hype train, but that one's probably going to zero after crypto winter. AOSL. Alpha Omega Semiconductors. Give me, this is an interesting chart. Look at that pop, that drop. Hitting the target there. Wrong tool. This ball, this low, this high, this low. Clear that. If this gets continuation up to 110, this could develop into something much bigger. We might go to 1,000. So if we get up here, do a correction, the continuation could be up here. It's an interesting opportunity there to pick up some shares at 50 for something potentially outrageous, like a crazy 20x, 17x, 20x, 18x. That'd be pretty wild. I bet it's another Bitcoin trust. They just hold Bitcoins. BlackRock's HUT 8 says opportunity to perform, but I don't know. Got this low, this high. This went really deep. While that looks nice on a 5-up, fair retrace, went kind of deep for a measured bounce. Has a reverse split. So that's a big warning sign. So yeah, but it was part of a merger. Okay, fine. Whatever. I don't care. Reverse splits are still dangerous. That means something was up. There's potential for this to rock and roll. I don't know. If you take it off log mode, it looks really horrible. And we're just coming up into resistance. It's really going to have to break that. On the not log mode, I don't know. That's big question marks here. I'm not a fan. For those you've been hanging around, I've just not been a fan of Hut since they did the merger acquisition thing. I don't know if they can get out of their way. MEI, that's out of their own way. That looks pretty nasty. Gap down right there. I would not mess around with that. BitB, another Bitcoin ETF. They're just, as long as Bitcoin's ripping, these are all just going to keep going. CAPR. Coming back to the roadmap line, and it's a biotech pharmaceutical. God, there's a bunch of those on the list today. MSTY. So if you really want to play with fire, come play with this one. I do not recommend this one at all. Like, it's not much I recommend. You know, I recommend you be careful. Like, it's not advice, but I do recommend you freaking be careful with your money. You can lose it. All right. I'm not giving personal advice, but blanket advice. Be careful. You can lose money doing this stuff. All right. All trading involves a substantial risk of loss. And playing with stuff like MSTX is playing with fire. Playing with any leverage is playing with fire. But I mean, let's be honest about it. Here's what these guys are doing. This one's the big, you need to go read the prospectus. What are they doing with 15% of the money playing options? Trying to generate income. At the same time, look at the charts. That's not like the MSTR chart at all. This one, you know, MSTR is like blasting off, and this is just flat. Curious. But you go look at the adjusted value, and that looks more like blasting off. So they're paying out a hefty dividend here. As long as MSTR goes up, this will probably do okay. But if MSTR starts dropping, this thing will probably plummet into the abyss pretty quickly. Some other ones that have been dangerous. This one, on an adjusted basis, looks great. We're back at all-time highs. But on a non-adjusted basis, if you just bought and hold a couple shares, you're like sitting there going, golly, man. Just keep watching it erode and erode and erode and erode and erode. But those dividends, like if you're holding options, you're screwed. But holding shares, you get the dividend payment. But this was reverse split. So you had twice as much over here, but now you got half as much over here. Not great. Not great. So that's my cautionary on the yield max stuff. Trying to get yield off, you know, high crazy dividends off of these things. Not always the best. I'm all like, if you can't tell, I'm on this leverage kick today. Be smart about it. All right. You can lose money. UAL, United Airlines, was in this watermelon seed squeeze, and we popped out, and we'll probably find some resistance up here around 114 when we get there. SNPS, Synopsis, just chopping around. Dang. $60 hit. It's the danger when you're playing with fire here. This, to me, this would be fire. There's the high. There's the low. We're in this resistance zone that's been resistance since before we even made that high. Oh, that was cool. Did not mean to click that one. Yeah, we were right at the top of the resistance zone. Now we're right back down to the roadmap line. As long as we can hold this uptrend of lows, potential is here. But if we get below that, watch out for that. This is package software. AVAV, this has been on here quite a bit lately. And that's back below the roadmap line. Watch out for the deeper retrace. We did not recover at all. Going lower. FI. That one's probably coming back to the roadmap line. SIG. Probably coming back down. Anybody remember me warning about this one earlier in the week? Anybody? Anybody? If we're going to turn this around, we want to hold right here, which so far potentially trying to do that. Break back above the roadmap line, and then we could look for upside potential up in this zone right there. PVH. Downtrend highs, be careful. I don't like that. Encino. Probably coming back down to this area. It's got no real trend. That's a lot of chop. The chop is getting, like, the volatility is increasing. This range is getting bigger on the chop, so I don't like that. That's not reliable to try to trade. Excuse me. KB Financial, probably come back to the roadmap line. CDNS, it's probably set up to go up to 350. CRM, bigger target up here, 400, 500. Not far away now. Getting there faster than I thought we would. Possibly on up to 700, but we'll see. We'll probably do a correction in there. AMAT, Applied Materials, probably coming on down to 140 area eventually. AI, Audio Eye, back to the roadmap line. That's a reasonable... If this breaks back above this little consolidation where we gap down from there, you can see that move on up to 37 and 40. Sentinel 1. Probably going to cruise on up to 35, if not 40. Just a matter of time. It's in its normal volatility, and it's just going to keep doing that as we grind higher. Just keep doing that. AEO rejected the roadmap line. 16 would be the downside support. BMO. Bank of Montreal, retrace the roadmap line, although looks like that was the dip, and we're already right back up to trying to break above these highs. Next upside, 150, and that's the Canada version, Canada version, 51st state. Then we have these other resistances up here, 102, 108 on the US version, the one that we could probably actually trade. ESTC. Gnarly, man. Resistance right there. Watch for a drop back to the roadmap line. Cold, natural gas. This is ultra short natural gas, so NG1 exclamation points. These natural gas is popping again, which I said we needed to hold that box, and look at that. Can't make this stuff up. We tested the bottom of, almost the exact bottom of the box. Look at that. Look at that. Right there. Hey, JT, how do you come up with this stuff? I've just been doing it long enough that there's these levels, things called levels, and once you start getting it, you get it. I mean, it's like kind of like you can see the matrix. You no longer see blonde, I just look at the number. I see blonde, brunette, redhead, as Goose says. That's this probably going on up to close to $4 would be my next. If we can do the breakout, we do have resistance coming up here, right around this 330 area. Right there. So watch for that. Pop on up, right in there. Next extension, 370 and possibly $4 above that. Right there for natural gas. So cold is going to probably go down in a violent way since this is ultra short, leverage short, natural gas, that means if natural gas is going up, this is going down, leveraged. ZJK. I think I said this is probably coming back down and probably going lower. GE. This at least, I talked about this needing a roadmap line test. So it's all the way back over here. Probably still needs it right there. TD, let's look at the US version, not the Canadian version. Not looking too hot. Probably going on down, 48. Bonus trade, SMH. Check this baby out. This is Danger, though. Danger, 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 danger. So this high, this low, right there, closed above the 618, rejecting it today. So this is caution. Caution, caution, caution. That would potentially be the target. Right there, smaller trade inside the bigger trade. Now, what are the numbers? JT, what are the numbers, right? What are the numbers? Always, what are the numbers? So let's pull it up. Grab this, copy it over, and paste her in here. Here we go. Target 266.33. Stop below 233.17. Upside potential of $13. 90% win rate. 8.8. 22 trades since 2000. Usually lasts about 34 trading days, so about 2 months, roughly. Why 2 months? Because candles don't get made on the weekends. So that's what we're looking for right there. Let's see if the algorithm did take an entry right there. Game on, baby. Right there, game on. Looking for that move right up in here. Now, this is a semiconductor ETF, so it is a derivative of things. Be careful. There you go. There's the numbers. 34 days on average. Use the tool. Right here, this is a handy dandy tool right here. Date and price range tool. Click here. Go out 34 days. So 53. So 60 if you're buying options, but you may want twice as long because sometimes they last twice as long, like TQQQ. There you go. And TQQQ. Just as a reminder, we kicked off the entry back here. All the way back over here. The average on that baby, 38 days, and we're getting close to twice that. Actually, we're crossing twice that. We're moving on to 3 times that. So 3 to 5 times longer, easily could be 3 to 5 times longer. Why do you need these? Averages are just averages. One's above average, one's below average. Given 2 of anything. Now, also, if you're going to take one of these trades like SMH, know where you're wrong. All right, that stop below 233. That's not that far away. It's right down there. Don't be like, well, it's high probability and we got to the stop, so I'm going to double down. That's staying wrong. Like, if we get down there, you're proven wrong. Don't stay wrong. That can cost you big money. Being wrong, that's okay. We take some losses. We go after the next one. Staying wrong, double down. Dips even more. Double down. Dips even more. Then you're really in trouble. That's a big loss. Ouch. Don't stay wrong. That's what costs you the big money in the markets, all right? So if you get into leverage Joe Schmo, whatever, Bitcoin, and then it pulls back against you and you're like, oh, I can't take it anymore. Just GTFO. Don't double down. Get out. All right. Take your lumps. Move on. Nothing's more volatile than crypto. So if you can't handle volatility, don't play there. Don't play there. You gotta have nerves of steel. All right. Bias for the day. Rolling on, rolling on. Looks like maybe grind higher, but maybe not. Let's see. Oh, we already hit the upside target there. Pulling back. May come back again. That was on the 5-minute. We already hit the target. Right back down. Can't make this stuff up. Yeah, there was the buy, and there's the little baby. There's the buy, there's the sell. Then we hit the target on the bigger picture. 15-minute, we haven't come back down to the roadmap line yet. Probably will. 30-minute above that. We haven't been down there since over here. Got close right here. We don't stay above these forever. All the smaller ones hit all the time, and then the bigger ones much less often. But eventually we come back. Every time. Every time. They don't stay up forever. Nothing stays up forever. Eventually, we're going to hit the roadmap line. Now, the roadmap line does move, and that's one reason why eventually we're going to hit it. Eventually, we're going to hit it. And then we're going to break it, and we're going to hit a higher time frame. Oops. Oops. Eventually we come back. Eventually we're coming back. Eventually we're coming back. And not applicable. Cool. Not enough data. All right. Be careful out there. I'm gonna go do my daily stuff. So I'll be in Discord. Have a great day, everybody. Be safe out there. Your account you save may be your own. Let's gun it for the higher Bitcoin now. Let's get it. 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 Have a great